Hello, everyone, and welcome to our incredible webinar today. We are so excited to be joined by, honestly, celebrities in this industry, and really, really stoked to have Corinna and Theresa Williams here from Celsius. Welcome.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to finally be here.
I'm so excited. It's been like 4 years in the making. Actually, I think like 4 years to the date. And we are going to dive into everything related to Celsius. If you are here right now, thank you for joining. You're welcome to drop any questions that you might have into the chat or the Q&A, and we'll get to them over the course of our webinar today. But we're just super excited to learn more about Celsius, and hopefully you guys will be able to take something away about this incredible brand and company and how they have impacted this industry so deeply. So we're just going to dive right in.
Let's do it.
I would love to hear a little bit more about your background, about how you got started in this industry. And I'm kind of always going to be telling you both questions, and then whoever wants to jump in.
So we were definitely not native to the industry when we decided to dive in. So we both, and I'm speaking for Theresa here as well, we both have a background in fashion in the wider sense. So I used to work as a fashion editor and writer back in Germany, and then moved to New York about 13 years ago to continue in that field. So I wrote for a bunch of glossy magazines back in Germany. And so I moved to New York, and I basically had to do laundry outside of my own home for the first time in my life, because as probably many of you know, there's not a big laundromat scene in Europe. Most people have their own washers in their homes. And they very rarely have to send any laundry out or do it anywhere else. So I arrive in New York. I don't have in-building laundry. I don't have in-unit laundry. I'm like, okay, what do? Okay, I go to the next laundromat on the corner. The experience was not great, to say the least. I go to the next one. Same story. I drop it off. I did all the apps that were coming up during that time, like 10, 12 years ago. I'm not going to name any names, but
if you know, you know.
Exactly. They lost a bunch of stuff. They damaged a bunch of stuff. And that got me thinking. And I just started to dream of a space where I would feel comfortable either doing my own laundry or dropping my laundry off, a friendly, welcoming space that could also be fun, and just make laundry day less daunting and less stressful, and also more eco-friendly. So that's something that I encountered along the way. Well, I think probably in that research phase that at the time I didn't know had started yet, I walked into hundreds of laundromats just to peek in and see what was going on. And
you could start working for Sun's anyway, you know? That's like basically our MO, you know?
And just realized that, you know, a ton of products were used that, were not very friendly to people or planet. And so I just started thinking about a place that could, flip all of this on its head. And then I got on a call with Theresa, who was living in London at the time, and sort of, I don't know, soft pitched the idea. And if you want to jump in and kind of talk about where you were at the time and what your initial thoughts were, which I actually I kind of don't know.
So as Corinna mentioned, I was living in London at the time. I'm a trained product designer, but was working in eyewear, so sort of fashion accessories. And I think when Corinna pitched me the idea for the first time, I was sort of ready for a big change. And I was actually really excited to, I was ready to, I think, kind of do my own thing, not work for somebody else anymore. And then this idea of having a business with a brick and mortar location was obviously really, really interesting for me as a designer, kind of a huge opportunity to do that storytelling, building the visual aspects of the brand, and then also just fully building out a space from scratch, which obviously in New York City, not a small feat, to build a laundromat from the ground up. That was definitely, I think, a really steep learning curve.
Really,
really
I
steep.
think the hardest year.
Definitely the
Like
hardest.
our lives.
Hard.
You're like, of our lives.
Period.
It really was,
Yeah.
but yeah, also the most exciting,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
When
for
was
sure.
this?
This was, so I moved here in 2012 and then I started, well, we started talking about it in 2013. We incorporated in 2014.
Mhm.
And that's sort of when we started, this was like the deep dive of our kind of research and
Putting all
yeah,
the puzzle pieces together.
Exactly.
Finding the equipment, finding the people that we needed to work with.
yeah, consultants,
Hunting for real estate.
I was
yeah,
actually
yeah.
I was also asking because if you don't know, Celsius is in the heart of North Williamsburg, and
I got very lucky.
yeah, I was going to say, I can't even imagine from that at that time or versus now how much that real estate would have been. And so it sounds like you were in the right place.
We got very lucky. So
Yeah.
we signed our lease in the summer of 2016.
Wow.
Obviously, Williamsburg was already pretty gentrified.
Yeah.
Definitely beyond up and coming. Like it was
Yes,
there.
it was there, yeah.
But if we're looking at like the last 8 years since then, it's unbelievable. We're one block from the new Hermes flagship. We have North 6th Street is incredible.
It's Soho.
Yeah,
Soho
it really is Soho.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, that demographic is not a bad demographic to have.
Nope.
For us as business owners. So we've been really fortunate that has developed in the way that it has.
That's so cool and so interesting to hear. It doesn't surprise me at all that you both come from like a design fashion background, because if you've seen Celsius's website or their store, it all tracks, you know, it really all tracks. So that's really, really great to see. So can you tell me a little bit about getting into the industry? Obviously, you guys are starting from scratch. Did you go to market with full service from the start? Like, what was your business model at the start? And then we'll talk a little bit more about like those pivots that you've had to take.
So at the start, we opened as a self-service laundromat. First and foremost, we had the beautiful space, we had a cafe, we had a backyard. So that was really the first pitch, like come to us, hang out with us. We had a ton of events, collaborations. It was really like a very, very vibrant time for the business. And I think that really kind of catapulted the brand right from the get-go. And we had drop off as well, but it was a smaller
wash and fold. I think pretty much from the start. Yeah, like a couple of weeks.
From the beginning.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a smaller part of the business. So there was a huge focus on self-service. And it was definitely extremely popular at the time. So that was great. And then actually we opened 2017.
Yeah, November 2017.
Yeah.
We opened doors.
So about 3 years in.
Pandemic.
Like
2.5 years. 2.5.
Yeah. Which is unbelievable. It feels like we were open for a longer time, but we actually were. It was so as a pretty young business, it was definitely a shock. But I mean, we pivoted on day one of the lockdown and switched from a really 90%, I would say probably 80 to 90% of our
definitely 90%. Yeah.
So just exclusively drop off
because we, as an essential business, we were still able to operate. But as everyone remembers, at that time, the first few weeks, it was really tough to make those decisions of who could come into the space, how many people you wanted to have work together. So
how much even at that time, like how long did the virus live on the laundry and like all these crazy things, and we were trying to
navigate. So it was a very interesting time because actually all of the other laundry services in the area, they actually closed stores.
Wow.
So we were the only, I mean, I don't even know, like definitely the only place in the neighborhood that still took in laundry for at least, I think, 2 to 4 weeks.
Wow.
So we had lines out the door.
And it was just us working. It was Theresa and me. We sent everyone, like, yeah.
Yes.
We sent the team home because they're like, okay, we don't know
We
if this
put
is safe
everyone on
Yeah.
for you guys.
Yeah.
Take your PTO, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing laundry.
We did all the laundry, I think, for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh
Just
my
the two
God.
of us.
Yeah.
And yeah, we switched from self-service to what we then called wash dry bag, which is basically the same thing. You give us your bag. It's as if you're washing it, you're putting it in the washer, you're putting it in the dryer,
Yeah.
doing your own thing, but we do that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
We
So
bag it back unfolded.
Yeah,
and you
there's
can take
no
it
folding.
back and you can fold it at home.
Yeah.
It's obviously much faster. It's cheaper
Yeah.
than wash dry fold because that labor
folding
component of
is, yeah.
folding
Yeah.
falls away, which is really a huge chunk of the cost of wash dry
For
fold
sure.
if we're looking at it. And yeah, we did that, and we had lines out the door because people had the option between doing the wash dry bag with us or washing in their sink and
Yeah.
their bathtub.
Yeah.
So by the time that sort of like lockdown ended, we were so in the groove with the service, and we figured out it was actually much more efficient.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
much more efficient to do the laundry
Yeah.
ourselves than having people throw something in the washer,
Walk away,
walk
go
away,
to lunch.
having to, move it out of the washer,
Yeah.
either, dry it for them or park it on the side somewhere or empty out dryers so people could use the dryers. And we were so busy that we actually decided to stay with a drop-off only model. And then at the same time, our wash and fold service grew as well because people started to know us for, okay, this is a great place. They take good care of my laundry. So we decided to stay with it. And then we switched to Sense.
Sense came along.
I remember our outdoor meeting in 2021, masked and like my tablet right over here, like I remember that so clearly.
I don't know who sent us the first email. Actually.
Kevin.
Okay, yeah.
I know exactly. He's like, I've been talking, he's like, you live half a mile, I've been talking to these women, like you have to go, and I was like, absolutely, like.
Yeah, and then, I mean, it did transform our business as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
this
We
is.
didn't pay them to say this, but I'm so happy.
No.
It is actually true. Yeah.
It is,
Yeah. Pickup and delivery has actually,
Yes.
definitely
Yeah.
changed our business.
And going back to kind of the neighborhood that we're in,
Yeah.
our demographic, this is a pretty young demographic, tech savvy.
Yeah.
So there is this absolute expectation that they're gonna be able to, do most of the transactions over their phone.
Yeah.
There's an app, they know what's going on, they want to get text messages.
Yeah.
It made perfect sense. It came at
I was waiting for that one.
no pun intended. And yeah, I mean, especially since we launched pickup and delivery, it's just been,
I am super
Constant
excited to dive into more of that. I'm very curious to know, obviously, labor was an issue for you at the start of the pandemic. And, the changing business models have different challenges that come up. Can you highlight any of the challenges that have come up, like maybe even since you switched to pickup and delivery? Corinna and Theresa were early adopters of like DoorDash, and that didn't work for them. And then they pivoted to something else. Like, can you talk a little bit about the challenges that or one of the challenges that you've overcome?
Yeah. I mean, I think DoorDash was an interesting phenomenon that is very,
very New York.
Centric. So when we first started with pickup and delivery, I think we launched with our own drivers first, and then I know the on-demand started kicking off, and at first we were on the fence about it because they're like, okay, we can't really. We do like to be able to
control the experience
over the brand
quality.
experience and the quality. So we were on the fence, but then we eventually decided to give it a go. And what happened was that we did specify that we needed, obviously, DoorDash drivers to be in a car, because we have bigger volumes than
Yeah.
just a little,
Food bag.
yeah, food bag. But pretty much every single time
I do remember this.
someone was supposed to like pick up laundry or deliver laundry, they showed up on
A scooter.
scooters
Yeah.
or like motorbikes, which is just very much what happens in
New York.
New York
Yeah.
City.
So we would have one order come in
Yeah.
and we had like
No,
10 drivers come,
Yeah.
drivers come
Yeah.
one after the other, and we
It
would
was
be like,
Yeah.
I mean, we were.
I remember like
Yeah, it
I
was crazy. We're
like, oh no.
It's
And you're like,
another
that
scooter.
driver just
Yeah.
showed up on a scooter. I'm like, it definitely says car here. This was peak gas prices. They wrote they had a car. They showed up on a
Yeah.
scooter, you know,
we're
like.
kind of fibbing.
Yeah,
we're kind of playing the
exactly.
system. But then, I mean, step by step, it led to the setup that we have now, because I mean.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? Yeah.
Absolutely.
You added
So
Uber,
Uber was added, and Uber
kind of, yeah, after
Different
DoorDash,
story.
right?
has
Yeah.
been
Mhm.
definitely working well. Obviously, there's the odd hiccup still every once in a while, but
Yeah.
you know, that's the
Yeah.
nature of the beast. And then also, I mean, Sen set us up with a third party
Yeah.
courier that we kind of made it work as kind of quote unquote our
Your
own
own drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had this hybrid model where we had the on-demand, but we also had the windows where we had a little bit more control, and then customers
Yeah.
would kind of pick what would work better for them.
Yeah.
And then this company went out of business, unfortunately.
As it does. Yeah.
As it happens, but we were able to actually retain one of their drivers, who's now still
Love
one
that.
of our own drivers. So we've been able to just kind of roll with the punches.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Continue
and now
to
we
grow
work with,
delivery.
we work with a courier, that I actually used to work with, back in my fashion days.
Very cool.
And
All
yeah,
comes full
so, yeah,
circle.
exactly.
It all comes full
So
circle,
yeah, he then employed the driver that we were working with, initially on the third party solution that you had presented. So yeah, it did literally come full
Yeah.
circle. And it's been fantastic.
Can you talk a little bit about the vehicles that you're using right now to facilitate delivery?
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
got a really, we got a really fun electric, I mean, we call it's like a bike truck. It's a
Yeah.
huge cargo bike with now our faces on it.
Yeah.
It's a funny story.
It's fully
how
branded,
it got
how it got
here.
here.
So I will have to preface this with Teresa's the queen of eBay, Craigslist,
Oh my God.
Facebook Marketplace. She will find everything and anything.
I mean,
and
it
get
was-
amazing deals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tricky story. We were looking at the time into getting kind of our own van, potentially like an electric vehicle, and then really like car insurance. It was
Yeah. So if you're ever able to hack that,
Yeah. Oh, by the
Or-
way,
yeah.
as an aside, I wanted to buy a car during the pandemic and it quoted me at like $600 a month or something for insurance.
Yeah.
And I was,
not
and I was like, I have no points on my record, but I just live in
Yeah,
Brooklyn.
yeah,
And
yes,
so,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the commercial car insurance at that point, because that was when we just started up, we
Yeah.
weren't really entirely sure how that revenue stream would develop. It was honestly, it was cost prohibitive. So we were looking at cargo bikes, and we found this incredible deal for what would have been, I believe, new a $20,000 cargo bike for $3,000
Oh my God.
on eBay from a California ghost kitchen liquidation
Oh my God.
sale.
That's amazing.
And we had it shipped to New York. It ended up
Wow.
only making it to New Jersey. We had to
That's
go.
fine.
It was pretty good, but
Technically, yes.
technically, yes, we had to go with a U-Haul. It didn't fit in the U-Haul.
No.
We had to put it on a trailer. It was crazy, but now we have this incredible cargo bike
yeah.
that honestly fits more laundry than a car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can hold up to like what, 400
400 pounds of laundry.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's incredible.
It's
really great.
incredible.
I was just
obviously-
picturing you biking over the GW bridge or something, you know, with it from New Jersey.
Well,
You know, so we actually, I would like never be able to ride it. I would just go right off
Yeah.
the rails with that thing. But it's obviously, it's also a great branding opportunity because
Yeah.
it gets so many eyeballs.
Yeah.
It has this like 8-foot high container on the back that is
Yeah.
fully branded, and obviously it stands out.
Absolutely.
Between all the cars and all the kind of
Yeah.
regular
Yeah.
vehicles. So yeah, those are just kind of the things that we look for. And again, it's obviously aligned with our sustainability mission to
Yeah.
kind of reduce our emissions.
Yeah. So tell me about the branding. What's the inspiration behind your visual branding elements? Obviously, product designer. And you know, and I will say, like, my first experience in Celsius, there was a line out the door for sure. It was 2021. I remember walking in, there's a yellow wall, plants everywhere. It was just like a breath of fresh air amidst even like the pandemic. And the line out the wall, or the line out the door, excuse me, wasn't bothersome because as soon as you went to do intake, you understood why there's a line because the experience was so personalized, especially that first time. I remember I'd never had like someone ask, do you have like any athletic wear that might need this treatment or this treatment or whatever? It was incredible. Anyways, visual branding.
Visual branding. Yeah. So the idea from the get-go was to do something unexpected. So to not kind of go with the standard color scheme that you would imagine for a laundromat, which is often like a bluish, white kind of project. Whenever, you know, people, I feel like, try to refresh that experience, it's very easily, they kind of overcompensate, I think, a little bit with things being too sterile, too bright, too cold. So we went with these kind of really nice, warm, yellow-orange tones that were really friendly, kind of unisex, and welcoming and bright.
Which is also, those were kind of the buzzwords that were floating around when we were doing like our initial
for brand identity.
And also the space that we looked for, we wanted to be, as you said, like a breath of fresh air. Like we wanted it to purposefully like look airy. And
we have those double height ceilings, so it's
Bless up.
everything that you kind of wouldn't expect for the traditional laundromat. And we sort of stuck with this. I mean, obviously things have developed over time. Now we're adding this kind of new service with the wet cleaning where we're changing up colors a little bit, but we're always going with a kind of bold, unexpected color scheme and visual identity. And again, looking at our demographic, it's sort of a younger demographic. So we're keeping it pretty bold and fresh.
Has your brand voice evolved over time? And how important is it to have a brand voice as a company?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting,
it's a good question.
It's a good question. So, I mean, we're really lucky that we have this background in both journalism and design. Obviously, Corinna does a lot of the copywriting. I do a lot of the visual identity. Corinna's husband is also a graphic designer. So
it's all in the family.
It's like,
and your mom works there sometimes, you know,
and it's a true family.
And your baby's
family.
there.
And we're really lucky.
She actually, the other day, she was like, oh, Tommy, when I take over the laundromat, I'm gonna make it all purple. So if you ever see us rebranding and all purple, you know, we'll be retired and Leela will be running the show.
That's amazing. Love it.
So we're really fortunate that we can keep all of this work in-house. So a lot of the brand voice is just, it's actually authentic.
It's us speaking.
And I think this is also kind of what radiates with that customer experience is the way that we train our employees, the relationships that we have with them. That translates to the customer relationship as well. So I think that's really what it is. It's friendly and welcoming because that's truly how we feel about our business, how we feel about our customers.
And I think, there haven't been a ton of changes, even, you know, once we've switched up the visual identity a little bit, I think our voice has always remained
consistent,
authentic and genuine and just,
amazing.
Like heartfelt and welcoming.
And how do you impart that onto your employees? Because obviously I know that you are both super hands-on, of course, day to day. but you're not there 24/7. How do you?
Thankfully.
Yeah. Yeah, like.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
There
Exactly,
were
like
different
2017,
times.
yeah, 2017 was rough, you
Yes,
know?
yes,
But how do you impart that, identity, that passion into your team?
So, I mean, I think a big part is the fact that we are still, one of us is still there
Yeah.
almost every day
Yeah.
of the week. So whenever someone new comes in, it's not like, okay, there's 2 days of training and
Yeah.
then do your own thing.
Yeah,
So we are still there.
Yeah, and
most
we're
of the
leading,
time.
we're leading by example.
We're
Yeah.
leading by example, and we have kind of weekly team messages where we can review things that both went well and maybe didn't go as well.
every relationship needs a check-in.
Which is
Yeah.
exactly, so that checking in, giving reminders of what we can improve, and then especially like reviewing any type of customer issues.
Yeah.
Customer disputes and figuring out both how we can resolve it for the customer, but also, you know, how things can go better the next time. That's really
Yeah.
important.
Amazing. Yeah, your staff, I feel like, has also been with you for a really long time. Even the
Yeah.
fact that you said like PTO at the start and not furlough and not everything, just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
really retaining them
Yeah.
through thick and thin has
Yeah.
been, I'm sure, very important to how they show up every day.
Oh, yeah.
100%, yeah.
So you talked a little bit, Corinna, at the beginning about your desire to focus on sustainability, and
Yes.
I would love to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Can you tell me some ways where you bring sustainable elements into the experience and into Celsius? I know that there are many things that we could talk about.
Yeah, we could talk all day.
Yeah,
but
yeah, we'll limit it to a few highlights and, you know, maybe, yeah.
Totally, yeah. So yeah, definitely sustainability has always been one of the main pillars of our business. And yeah, we get the question a lot of why this is so important to us. And yeah, I think for us, so it's how we were raised, it's how we grew up in Germany. I think like our mom and our family, our relatives, they were all kind of early adopters of like organic food and like building with non-toxic materials. So our childhood home was built with all like non-toxic building materials, which was
wild to even think about.
Quite at the time,
like 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, without
very different.
the internet and like, all these things. So so yeah, for us, it was always we did write it into the business plan, but it was always a non-negotiable and really like something very personal that for us was it was clear from the beginning that we wanted this to be part of our business. And so something we did right from the start is we gave our customers free laundry soap. So we sourced the soap that we wanted to use. It was 3 ingredients only, hyperallergenic. We made sure that that kind of aligned with our business mission. And if they wanted to, they could use that. And I would say, I don't know the percentage, but definitely a majority of our customers made use of that because it was free. It was free.
Yeah.
It was included.
It was included.
It was included.
Exactly. Not free. It was included. And then I think after a while, I think this was still during self-service when we banned dryer sheets.
We banned dryer sheets and fabric softener.
Oh, wow,
Yes.
controversial.
It's pretty controversial.
Yes. But also, I mean, we can start a conversation about dryer sheets, but honestly, are they necessary? You just don't need them. And this is also like, you just don't need them. No one in Europe even knows what they are. Like, what is this? Like, why do you use them? And then we actually started, before we banned them, we started asking people like, hey, because they were coming up to us, and they're like, hey, do you sell dryer sheets?
Like, we asked them what they use them for.
Why do you?
And they said, and they're like, they don't actually know. They just thought you had to do it.
Yeah, okay, wait, can we take a pause? I always thought it was like to capture extra lint or something in the dryer.
No,
they
don't capture it.
They don't, so it's, yes, it is additional softening because dryer sheets are actually laced in additional fabric softener. They can help with static as well.
Yeah.
That being said, static it's not life threatening.
Okay, okay, okay. got you.
And obviously, one of the problems with fabric softener is it contains a lot of ingredients that are definitely not very good for your health, and they're also not good for the water and the planet.
And you need to toss them after you, like,
they're single use, and they do not biodegrade. They're plastic.
And they mess up your dryers, because they leave these like ugly streaks, like it's, like you don't need them, no one needs them, no one needs them.
And your lint screens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just a pain.
So we ended up banning them, and that kind of brought us a whole new customer segment of people who were so highly allergic to fragrances and other ingredients that they could not use other self-service laundromats because the drums, the hoses, the compartments, everything
it's contaminated.
It's contaminated because, again, fabric softener is obviously made to stick to clothes because the scent should linger. So highly sensitive individuals specifically sought us out for that. And now that we are drop-off only, we control everything that goes into our machines. So we have zero issues when somebody comes to us and says, I want, fragrance-free and highly allergic. We're like, great.
We can do that for you.
Found the right place. There will be absolutely no residue, nothing on your laundry. So that was,
And we use
a very easy switch. And once we explained to people what ingredients were in some of these products, they were shocked. They were shocked because they're not as regulated as a lot of consumers, I think, imagine. That they are. So
and then we use vinegar for softening. We have a essential oil based lavender spray for anyone who does like a little bit of scent and aromatherapy.
So it doesn't go into the machines. Just on the laundry, and that's what we do. And our customers are happy.
What are some changes that someone can take away from today's webinar in terms of like having sustainability in mind? Is there a small thing you would recommend? You're like, if you're going to do one thing, this is something that you can do. And then as follow-up to that is like, how do you hope this industry could adopt sustainability?
So are we speaking from a business perspective, like as an operator perspective? Okay.
Because I don't know if is it more profitable to be sustainable, or is it something that is like,
I mean, some things are going to be cheaper. Again, like cutting out the fabric softener, honestly, using white vinegar is going to be cheaper than offering a branded fabric softener.
So if you want to do that,
that's great.
Very easy.
Other things, I mean, not going to lie, other things are going to be more expensive. I mean, we use biodegradable bags to kind of separate out the intimates and stocks once we fold them. Those are going to be more expensive than another product. We use kind of for small loads that we bag up, we use recycled paper bags. Much more expensive than plastic bags. Everyone needs to kind of figure out what their market does support, I think. But it's also like, it's a trial and error thing. And sometimes it's just, I mean, the wonderful thing I think in our industry is that you can actually talk to your customers. It's not that you're sending something halfway across the country and you're not actually having the opportunity to kind of explain some of the choices or even ask beforehand, literally have this conversation with your customers. And that's what we did when we were thinking of like, we don't want all these chemicals on site. And I mean, sometimes people would use products, you could smell it in the entire space and would just be too overwhelming for some other customers. So before we made a decision, we just started talking to people. And then we figured out that for our customer base, this is something that with the right education, letting them know why we did it, giving our team the tools to kind of disarm maybe some of the conflicts, we decided it was the right decision.
Amazing.
So,
do you have any suggestions on things that an operator can do to drive sustainability? Like if there's one thing that they could focus on, assuming they won't be banning fabric softeners anytime soon.
What's the one thing?
Laundry bags.
I mean, reusable laundry bags obviously is a no-brainer. single-use plastic.
Mhm.
It's just something where sometimes you can't avoid it, obviously, because hygiene is a huge part of our
Laundry,
business.
yeah.
You can't
100%.
you can't have a bag that might be sitting out on somebody's driveway for a little while. You can't
Of
have it
course.
Yeah.
unprotected. But yeah, I would just say kind of evaluating every component that you're using in your packaging, in your process,
Mhm.
and just figuring out, is this something that I can either leave out or that I can replace with something else? And I mean, we have found for some of the deliveries that we do with our own drivers, if we know this is going straight to somebody's building, they have their own bag, or we provide them the bag, it doesn't need to be in plastic.
Yeah,
And we have
immediately, yeah.
in an additional plastic bag.
Yeah.
And we've had virtually zero issues with leaving out the plastic bags on those loads where we know they're not going to be exposed to the elements
Yeah.
or anything else that we can't control. And doesn't cut it
Small
down
changes.
100%,
No.
but it's a small change.
Yeah.
Again, it
Yeah.
also saves us money because we're not paying for it,
Yeah.
A plastic bag.
that extra plastic bag.
I love that. It's just knowing your customers. And also I think
Yeah.
everything that you've said is like rooted in the customer experience and having these
Yeah.
conversations with them. It's not,
100%.
and then that opens up an entire customer base in and of itself.
Yeah.
So want to talk a little bit about marketing. How much of your business is word of mouth? Like, or yeah, how much of it?
It's a lot.
It's really important.
Yeah.
It's really
It's
important.
really important. I mean, it goes back to the fact that we got really, really lucky with our location. We have an incredible
Yeah.
amount of foot traffic because we are 2 blocks away from
The L train.
the L train subway stop, and then a straight shot to the ferry landing that takes people into
Yeah.
Manhattan.
Yeah.
So foot traffic is huge. Word of mouth, obviously, between roommates, people who live together, friends within the neighborhood is big as well.
Yeah.
But then, also our online presence. Now we see it with the pickup and delivery.
Yeah.
People find us and
Yeah.
our visual identity
Reviews
resonates
are important.
with them. Our reviews are good.
Yeah.
Very, very
Yeah.
good.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Do you incentivize customer reviews? Do you ask for them in any way?
we don't.
Okay.
Not true.
We do.
Yes, yeah.
I'm absolutely
Not
right.
true, not true.
I'm absolutely
So yeah,
right.
we
absolutely
just,
do.
Yeah.
we have been working with campaigns,
Okay.
actually.
Yes,
Oh,
of
and
course.
yeah, so we
set up
have
an
Another
campaign.
Suns product.
Exactly, yeah.
Coming soon,
Yeah,
soft
yeah,
launching
yeah,
next
yeah,
week.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, did I give something away?
No, you're doing amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
Francine is clapping.
So yeah, we basically ask all of our new customers who have dropped off with us or have scheduled pickup and delivery after they've received their first return delivery, how they would rate us, like on a scale of 0 to 5. And then yeah, once they reply, we don't incentivize per se, but we
Yes,
do ask
we do
them.
ask them
Yeah,
to
there's another text in that
Yes.
campaign funnel where like, okay, hey, it would mean the world to our small business if you could leave a review on Google or Yelp.
Yeah.
And yeah, that has gotten us some very, very, very favorable reviews, which as we all know, they're hugely important.
Yeah.
And
we
then
don't actually
also,
ask.
like, again, having a brick and mortar business, definitely tell your employees that if they have a conversation with someone and someone says, oh, this was great, I love this and that, tell them to just say, hey, it would be great if you could put that on Google or Yelp. That's the easiest one.
Yeah. Do you guys have QR codes or anything like that for quick access to reviews at the counter, at the intake counter?
That we do not.
No,
Okay.
That we
we
do
don't.
not
No.
actually.
Oh,
But
I'm just
we
curious.
should.
We've seen some people do that.
Yeah, I mean, we have, again, that kind
Signage
of,
is so tricky.
I know, especially with a brand, right?
yes, and
Yeah.
too much signage, people glaze
Block it out.
over.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of times we've had something big and bold on the counter and
Yeah.
nobody
one
actually
no one
paid
reads it.
attention.
Yeah.
But again, we have a very tech savvy customer base, so they can Google us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Have you had any like aha moments where marketing has had a surprising result? Or I almost think the campaigns are maybe something you just spoke to, but
That's a great question.
I mean, definitely when text messages launched, when we, I mean, when we initially started with Accelerate a few years ago.
Hugely effective.
Yeah, because we were doing just like emails before.
I remember that.
Yeah, obviously the jump to text messages, running promos through there.
Yeah.
Much more effective, being like right in people's faces.
Yeah, the flash promos we've been doing have been,
just to kind of help
great
control
response.
flow. We have like a slower day or a busier day, kind of try to pepper them in. We don't have any kind of standing promos where people know, okay, every Wednesday, every Thursday, this is happening. But if we kind of need to control the weekly flow a little bit, we surprise people, and it's always like hugely.
Oh, I remember a spring cleaning incentive for my comforter that I definitely sent in. Because I was about to switch out my comforter. I was like, okay, it's 2 weeks before I will. So yeah.
Good to know. Maybe we should run that again, actually.
Yeah, spring. Yeah, now that it's warm. Yeah. You never know in springtime in New York.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit more about your newest dive. And I want to encourage you, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, add them to the Q&A. We're so lucky to have Corinna and Theresa here. So like, take advantage. But I want to talk a little bit more because you mentioned earlier wet cleaning and your branding changing for wet cleaning. So can you just educate me as a lay person here in the laundry industry? What is wet cleaning?
Yeah. So first of all, I think before we dive into wet cleaning, I feel like we always need to explain what is dry cleaning.
Yeah.
So a lot
dry cleaning's not dry.
Dry cleaning is not dry.
Obviously, everyone in the industry probably knows. But so many customers.
I would say the majority of customers have no idea what actually happens. During dry cleaning. And obviously, as most of us know, it is not dry. It still happens in a
machine
type of commercial machine that looks kind of like a washing machine. Just instead of water, there's a solvent used. Usually it's a petrochemical, like in most cases, it's petrochemical.
Petro as in gas? Gasoline? Okay. Okay.
That's actually how dry cleaning was invented. It was an accident. Someone spilled, I think, kerosene on a rag and realized that it was lifting the stains and then invented dry cleaning.
Cool.
So that's that. And again, it's also like it's as if there are any dry cleaners watching, like it's you need to recycle the liquid. Like it's pretty tricky to get licensed for it, get the permits for it, if you're doing it in the city, which is usually why if you go to a dry cleaner here, that's only a drop-off station. They will send it out to a plant somewhere that can handle and deal with that chemical.
So I mean, we had obviously our customers asking for us to be able to take care of their dry clean only garments for years. We were looking for partners, third parties to be able to outsource it to, and we just couldn't find a partner where we felt like the same level of care that we put into our processing would be guaranteed, turnaround times, all of that. So we started looking at alternatives. And that's how we started working with Lagoon, so the Electrolux wet cleaning system.
So what wet cleaning is, it basically it works with water, not a chemical solvent. Exactly. And then the
equipment is much more highly calibrated.
Exactly.
And the products that it does use are specifically formulated for whatever fabric, garment, etc. you use in it. So
exactly. So it can do cashmere, it can do silk, any synthetic blends that might be labeled dry clean only. And there's again, very finely calibrated programs to handle all of these things. And then there's a pump that dispenses just the right amount of the specialty detergent for it. So it's great.
How are you launching this new service to customers? And like, when you have introduced a new service, like, do you have a special group of people that you offer it to? Like, we have a
Yes.
beta group.
Yeah.
If you're not in our beta and you want to join our beta group, you're welcome to join our beta group, but
Yes. Be part of the beta group.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's pretty much exactly what
Yeah.
the phase that we're in now. We're still in our soft launch phase.
Yeah.
So our beta group is our existing customers, which is obviously lower risk because you already have that relationship. They know you take great care of their clothes. So God forbid there is a hiccup, they're gonna be much more forgiving than a brand new customer that's gonna leave you
Yeah,
a 1-star review.
100%.
So yeah, we essentially started now with just our existing customers. We sent out a text message, obviously in store, having that conversation when people drop off items that are actually dry clean only, and either they ask about it or they didn't even know they were dry clean only. We actually pitch the new service to them, which is incredibly effective because the laundry is already on site. And we can just be like, hey, by the way, this is not washable in our regular equipment, but
we
can
have this
actually do it for you for this price, which is obviously an upsell. But again, they're also going to, get it cared for properly.
Exactly how they want to.
So yeah, that's the phase we're in.
We just got our
right.
month 3. We just got our first 5-star review
about wet cleaning. Congratulations.
So it's exciting. It's great.
How do you determine like pricing? Is it similar to dry cleaning where it's priced per garment type?
It's priced per garment. So obviously we looked at, the comps in the area. And again, soft launch period is a great time to kind of figure out what your specific market will support, and then we'll see if we kind of review the pricing once we do a hard launch. Might go up a little bit. So again, kind of a great time to test out what works and what doesn't.
That's so exciting. I'm really excited for this new endeavor. And the fact that it goes hand in hand with your sustainability model and just continuing to grow your business and expand the offerings, I think is just really incredible.
I mean, adding an additional revenue stream is always.
Well, knock on wood. So we actually got a question from Marcos, which I thought is a very interesting question. But I think I know the answer to this, but why did you end up closing the coffee shop? And then he was also told that Ari at Laundromat also closed her coffee shop. Is a dual concept not a good business idea?
It's a tricky business idea. And I remember that the consultant we worked with when we were about to open Celsius actually advised against the coffee shop. And it is it was double the work for us. You have additional staffing, especially with like food and beverage. You have that component of food handling,
service,
spoilage, waste. And then in the end, the revenue stream
was negligible compared to the laundry service.
So the effort was not.
The juice is not worth the squeeze.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
I mean, we were definitely also over ambitious, I think, in terms of the offering. I think if we'd gone with just kind of like a vending machine concept, that definitely makes sense, right? You have a captive audience, people are waiting, people are sitting around. But we were full service on the coffee as well. We had a barista making espresso drinks, heating food, prepping food. It's a much more complicated business, honestly. It's much more difficult than the laundry service. I think also in terms of staffing, that staffing also way more volatile.
100%.
Interesting.
I think it's an industry thing. People, at least in New York City,
the turnover is
much
massive,
higher. People you know, I mean, the people you're gonna get college kids or like, I need a side gig.
Yeah.
They're here one day, they're not here the next day. So we've
Yeah.
had way more consistency with the laundry attendance than we had in the cafe. So
Yeah.
it was, yeah, as you said, it was really not worth the squeeze. So I would definitely advise to anyone who wants that component to go with something that's a little bit less labor intensive. And then
Yeah.
I think it's obviously still a good idea.
That said, it was great for storytelling
Yeah.
in the beginning to kind of position ourselves and the brand
Absolutely.
as, not only
A space.
an eco-friendly laundromat, but like a space and kind of a concept laundromat that was also a community hub in that sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I will say, but
How do you think that changed from being a community space to no longer having that community space where interestingly, I feel like it's the reverse of what a lot of laundromats are doing presently and throughout the United States, where they are intentionally creating these community spaces. Do you feel any impact, positive or negative about that? Like, do you plan to bring more community type events, or do you think now that you're established, it's
I mean, it's just tough because our processing volume, I mean, we still get requests like, you know, can we do an event after hours? And every once in a while, we're still able to make it happen. Maybe
That's cool.
after we close doors, if it's really a partnership that makes sense. We had an event with Patagonia that was really,
but it was laundry related. It was a
laundry
wash party.
related. It was a wash party. It was low lift on our end. That made a lot of sense. But we get a lot of requests of just like, oh, we just want to shoot a music video in your space. Can you close for 2 days? And we're like, we cannot.
Yeah.
We cannot.
No.
We're primarily, you know, we're offering a service that our community needs.
Yeah.
We can't just not be here for 2 days. So that processing volume is unfortunately now like at a point, again, knock on wood, it's not a bad problem to have. It's kind of at a point where it becomes difficult. And I mean, it is a shame. Sometimes
In a way, yes, but also I feel like, we do miss do we miss having the yoga class in the backyard?
Yes.
I didn't know you had a backyard space, by the way. This is amazing.
Yeah, we do. And we had yoga
Yoga.
classes there,
Wow.
and that was nice. But also, I feel like, and this was due to COVID and like the pandemic shift that we had to go through. I feel like it really kickstarted this idea in our heads that, you know, we need to really focus on what we're good at, and that's taking care of our community's laundry. And that's how we are of service to our community. And it's just what we do best.
Absolutely.
And yes, obviously, would we want to throw an event once in a while? Yeah, but
I think
people do it in other spaces now, thankfully, again,
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of the biggest
The
blessing
pandemic
in disguise.
definitely forced us to hone in on
Your
our
strengths.
strengths.
Yeah.
And again, it's gotten us to where we are now. And I think, we're gonna kind of stay the course and just focus on providing the best service.
Amazing.
In the industry.
So for the industry, for Celsius, what is the future looking like? I know you just said hone in. Are you hoping to expand, obviously, if that, you know, like not location wise, processing, like in a dream
We are
world?
so lucky with our location.
We have so much space.
We actually still have space in our location because we have a full basement.
Oh my God. Oh, so you can add more machines.
We actually.
Yeah.
Now you're just bragging. Like you're like 2-story windows, natural light. I'm like, can I get an apartment?
We actually have a full basement.
Yeah,
underneath.
okay.
Same
We
square
got very,
footage
very
of
lucky
the-
with that space.
of
Wow.
the main space. So we're actually, once we're at the clean show, shopping around there, this additional equipment will actually go in our basement space. So,
Amazing.
that's gonna be the next step.
Yeah, so definitely more finishing. I think something that's been really exciting for us, again, coming from that fashion angle, is that now with the wet cleaning, we can
Yeah.
actually handle more of those very, very high fashion
Couture.
luxury
Yeah.
items
Yeah.
that we've like I had been handling previously.
Yeah, full
And
circle.
for just like, dressing a model, but now we can actually take care of them. And I think that's what's been most exciting to us. And that's what we'll hone in on. And obviously there's still a learning curve for us as well. But we're excited to embark on that.
Yeah,
on
and that
journey.
potential of partnerships along those lines, obviously, over the last few years, we have worked with fashion brands and now we can really, really lean into that. It's a goal.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We do have another sustainability related question that came in. Do you use Planet Care's commercial microplastic filters? And do you see a real benefit in also investing in water softeners and filtration systems for long-term equipment care and sustainability?
That's a great question. I actually wanted to throw that in when you asked us like where we would like the industry sustainability efforts to go.
So we distribute the residential Planet Care filter actually for North America, but we were unfortunately not able to install the commercial one on our washers because we have a trough system that they were not able to install it on. So that would be definitely a dream for either a retool or a second location, is to be able to install that. So from working with them, absolutely, yes, it is something that makes a huge difference. I think microfibers are a huge issue as we're learning now. They're absolutely everywhere. Unfortunately, they're not just in the water. That's kind of the component that we can control with the filters. But they're in the air, they're on Mount Everest, they're in our brains. So yeah, if that is something that works in your facility, definitely an important thing to do. And then obviously also something that you can market to your customers that care about that component.
That said, there should be regulation, in my opinion.
Well, they are coming. I mean, that's obviously
they just need to be built in.
That's another thing.
So hopefully that's
I'm trying to remember when we last spoke to Electrolux. I think for the European machines, they definitely have a timeline for when the microfiber filters need to be installed on the washers themselves. I think for America, it's not coming because I think that was actually
it was voted.
I'm not surprised at all by this.
No, not at all.
Do you see a real benefit in investing in water softeners and filtration systems for long-term equipment care and sustainability?
I mean, the water in our area, at least, softness is not, or hardness, that is not an issue. That much.
I mean, we've had our equipment now for 9 years.
Almost
running for 9 years,
10
and
years,
have thankfully not had any issues on the washers at all. They're running fantastic. So
another knock on wood moment, one of many in this incredible webinar with Corinna and Theresa, who I'm so grateful for taking the time today. I hope that everybody here was able to be inspired by their story and their success, and take a little something out of it for your business as well. And thank you, ladies, so much for being here. This has been magical.
Thanks so much for having me. It was so fun. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you next time. Take care.